The Boy and the Beggar Woman. Jace was just a boy, young, skinny, and alone. He lived on the edge of the alien city called Varrock 9, where humans were not welcome. The sky above the city was always dark, filled with huge metal ships. The streets were full of strange smells, flashing lights, and tall alien beings who barely noticed a human boy running by. Every day, Jace sold scrap to survive. He collected broken tech, old parts, or anything left behind by careless aliens. They called him Trash Boy or Earth Rat, but Jace didn't care. He was used to being ignored or laughed at. One evening, while walking through the market area, Jace saw her. She sat in a dark corner, her body wrapped in rags. Her skin was gray-purple, covered in dirt. Her hair was long, tangled, and hid most of her face. She looked like any other beggar, weak, dirty, forgotten. But something in her caught Jace's eye. Maybe it was her eyes, golden and bright even under all that dirt. Or maybe it was how still she was, like she didn't belong in this noisy place. Jace paused. He looked down at the small food pack in his hand. It wasn't much, just some warm rolls and synthetic fruit. It was his only meal of the day. He walked over to her. "You hungry?" he asked. She didn't look up. She didn't speak. But he saw her hand tremble slightly. Jace placed the food beside her and stepped back. Suddenly, loud laughter echoed behind him. "Look at that. The human is feeding trash. Maybe he wants to marry her." A group of alien merchants stood nearby, pointing and laughing. Their long arms shook as they mocked him. One of them threw a rotten fruit at Jace, but he didn't move. He just stared at the woman. Slowly, she raised her head. The laughter stopped. Her eyes, golden and deep, met Jace's. For a second, it felt like time had stopped. The air grew heavy. Even the laughing aliens stepped back, confused. Then the woman spoke very softly. "You are not like the others." Jace blinked. "What did you say?" Instead of answering, the woman reached out and touched his wrist. Her fingers were cold, but gentle. For just a second, something glowed under his skin, a small golden light, and then it was gone. "Go," she whispered. "They will come." Jace looked around. The aliens were still watching, now whispering among themselves. He nodded slowly and stepped away. That night, Jace could not sleep. He lay on his thin blanket in a dark storage room where he usually hid. But his body felt strange. The place where she touched him, it still felt warm. And then, he dreamed. He saw a throne made of light. A tall alien woman stood before crowds of people, her head held high, wearing a crown made of stars. She looked just like the beggar, but clean, proud, and powerful. "Find the truth," her voice echoed in the dream. "The crown remembers." Jace woke up sweating. He looked at his wrist. Nothing was there. But in his heart, he knew. Something had changed. The next day, when Jace returned to the market, the beggar woman was gone. All that remained was a gold-colored thread lying on the ground where she had sat. He picked it up and, from the shadows, someone was watching him. Someone with glowing eyes. And a communicator. In the deepest part of Varrock 9, an old tavern buzzed with hushed voices and half-empty mugs. The place was dim, filled with smoke and secrets. No one spoke too loud here unless they wanted to disappear. Tonight everyone whispered the same thing. "She's back. The Lost Queen." Someone saw her. A human boy fed her, can you believe that? At a round table in the corner, a cloaked alien with one eye sat listening. He didn't drink. He didn't speak. But he pressed 2 fingers to his ear and whispered, "Confirm the story. Track the human boy. If it's her, everything changes." Across the city, Jace wandered the junk district. He still held the golden thread he had found the day before. It felt warm in his pocket, like it was alive. He hadn't seen the beggar woman again, but he couldn't stop thinking about her glowing eyes and strange words. Jace had told no one about the mark she left on his wrist. not even about the dream. But the dream returned last night. Only this time, it was darker. He saw a fire. He saw a queen falling to her knees. He saw betrayal, guards stabbing each other, and a voice whispering, "They think I'm dead." That morning, Jace noticed something strange. When he walked past alien guards, their comm devices buzzed. Some of them stared at him too long. One even followed him before disappearing into the crowd. And worst of all, his wrist glowed again. Jace quickly wrapped it with cloth and hid it under his sleeve. By midday, Jace found himself in the old scrapyard. He often came here to think. It was quiet, full of broken machines and rusting metal. Today he wasn't alone. The same cloaked alien from the tavern was there, standing by a burned transport ship. "You are the boy," the figure said calmly, "the one who gave food to the beggar." Jace froze. "So what?" he said, trying to act strong. "She was hungry." "She was more than hungry," the alien replied. "She was hiding from monsters in royal clothes." Jace narrowed his Sioux eyes. "Who are you?" The figure removed his hood. He wasn't fully alien. His face was half metal, half flesh, a cyber war survivor. His eye glowed blue. "They called me Tarn. I once guarded her. Before the betrayal." Jace stepped back. "You mean she really was the queen?" Tarn nodded slowly. "Sirika Velthra, last heir of the Thalari throne. They hunted her down. Said she died, but I knew. I hoped she was alive." Jace held out the golden thread. "This is all she left." Tarn reached for it, but then paused. "It chose you," he whispered. "The thread, the mark. She trusts you." Jace frowned. "But I'm just a street rat. Why would a queen trust me?" Tarn looked at him seriously. "Because you didn't bow to power. You gave kindness without expecting anything back. That makes you rare and dangerous." Later that day, as the city lights flickered on, news began to spread faster. A human boy seen with the queen. The lost royal bloodline is real. The resistance is moving again. In a golden tower above the city, the false emperor stared at a screen showing Jace's face. He slammed his fist on the table. "Find him," he growled. "Find her and kill them both." Back in his hideout, Jace sat on the floor holding the thread again. His wrist glowed softly in the dark. He whispered to himself, "What am I supposed to do now?" From behind him, a voice answered, "You, follow me." It was her. The beggar woman, now clean, tall, and glowing faintly, stood in the doorway. Her cloak fluttered gently in the wind. Her golden eyes met his again. "You fed a beggar," she said softly. "Now rise beside a queen." The first alien to mock the human boy was found frozen in his sleep, eyes open, mouth still twisted in laughter. But no one was laughing now. By morning, 5 aliens were missing. All of them had been there that day, when Jace gave food to the beggar woman. Their homes stood untouched. No signs of struggle, no broken locks. Just gone. The news spread fast through Varrock 9. Fear crept into the streets like cold smoke. Even the proud Thalari nobles avoided eye contact. The word was whispered across every corridor and market. "Stall, the queen is watching." Jace didn't know any of this. He was busy hiding in a forgotten tunnel below the city, his wrist glowing again, now stronger. Tarn had led him there after the queen, Sirika, appeared in her new form. She looked nothing like the beggar he once knew. Her skin was clean and shining. Her robes glimmered faintly with ancient symbols. But her eyes, those deep golden eyes, remained the same. "Where are we going?" Jace asked as they walked deeper into the old tunnels. "To a place only a few. Remember," Sirika said softly. "A place of the old blood." The tunnel opened into a hidden chamber. Walls made of carved crystal reflected soft golden light. At the center stood a throne, not large but beautiful. Floating above it was a glowing ring of symbols. Jace stepped forward. What is this place? The heart chamber, Tarn explained. Built by Sarika's ancestors before the Empire turned cruel. Sarika moved to the throne but didn't sit. This is where I saw visions, she said. Of my kingdom lost, and of a human boy feeding a queen. Jace looked confused. Me? But I'm nobody. Sarika smiled. Not anymore. She placed a glowing shard into the throne. The room lit up with energy. The symbols in the air swirled, and then froze. One word blinked. Chosen. Meanwhile, above ground, the Emperor's spies watched the city shake. Protests started in the lower districts. Fires lit up at night. Someone had spray-painted on the palace gates. She lives. The crown remembers. The Emperor called for his hunter guards, merciless killers trained to track rebels and traitors. One of them, General Koresh, stepped forward and asked only one question. Permission to burn the tunnels? The Emperor smiled. Burn the tunnels. Burn the boy. Back in the heart chamber, Sarika stood before Jace. I need to pass the trials to reclaim my throne, she said. But I cannot do it alone. What kind of trials? Jace asked, nervous. First, the trial of truth, she said. You must face your own past. It is the only way to awaken the power inside you. Tarn handed Jace a small black cube. Place this on your head. It reads memories. It does not lie. Jace hesitated, but he nodded. He placed the cube on his head. Instantly, Jace saw everything from his past, clearer than ever, his parents leaving him behind. The alien guards laughing as he begged for food, the freezing nights, the hunger, the anger, the tears he never showed anyone. Then, the moment he saw her, sitting on the ground, begging for help. In that moment he realized something. He wasn't weak because he cared. He was strong because he did. The cube glowed gold. The light spread to his chest, then to his wrist. The mark burned brighter than ever before. Sarika's eyes widened. It's real. You're not just chosen, you're bonded. Bonded? Jace asked. It means, Tarn said quietly, you are now part of the royal bloodline's legacy. Suddenly, the walls trembled. Explosions shook the chamber. Dust fell from above. They found us, Sarika said sharply. The Emperor's guards are coming. Jace turned to her. What now? Sarika looked at him, fierce and proud. Now, boy. We fight. In the burning tunnels below Varrock 9, smoke curled like ghost fingers through the air. Ash rained down as the walls cracked. Alarms blared in the distance. Somewhere above, guards searched and destroyed, shouting orders, shooting at shadows. But deep beneath the chaos, two figures stood before a sealed door of living stone, glowing with runes that pulsed like a heartbeat. Only one voice could open. Queen Sarika stepped forward. She placed her hand on the center rune and whispered in the old tongue, By blood, by fire, by truth, I return. The stone groaned, split open, and revealed a long stairway into golden light. Jace had never seen anything like it. It felt ancient, sacred, dangerous. The Sanctum of Trials hadn't been opened in over 200 years. Only a true heir of the Thalari, bloodline, could enter, and only with someone the throne itself accepted. Today, that someone was a human boy. Jace followed Sarika down the steps. Tarn stayed behind to seal the tunnel and slow the guards. The deeper they went, the quieter the world became. No sounds, no wind. Just the steady thump of Jace's heart. When they reached the chamber, golden statues lined the walls, each one showing a past queen holding a glowing sphere. But the center of the room held something far more terrifying. A giant sleeping creature, of pure shadow. Its body curled around a mirror. Sarika took a deep breath. This is the beast of truth, she said. Our first trial. Jace looked at it, eyebrows raised. That thing looks like it eats planets. It won't bite, Sarika said softly. Unless you lie. Suddenly the beast's eyes opened, silver and endless. The room darkened. A cold wind blew across their skin, though there were no windows, no doors. The beast spoke, not with a voice, but inside their minds. "Step forward, human soul, I will show you who you really are." Jace took a shaky breath and walked forward. The mirror lit up, and his reflection changed. He saw himself stealing food, pushing a younger kid aside, pretending not to see, a dying creature. Moments when fear won over kindness. Shame twisted inside him. "I didn't know better," he whispered. "Do you own your past?" the beast asked. Jace nodded slowly. "Yes, I do." The beast stared for a long moment, then closed its eyes. The mirror faded. "You passed," Sarika whispered. "You accepted your truth." Then the beast turned to her. "And you, Lost Royale, will you face what you did?" Sarika stood tall. The mirror showed her leading armies, burning cities, turning away refugees, and finally running in fear while her people screamed behind her. A single tear rolled down her cheek. "I was young. I was scared. But no more," she said. "Now I return to fix what I left behind." The beast remained still, then slowly uncoiled from the mirror. A hidden door opened behind it, revealing stairs made of white crystal. "Second trial awaits," the beast said. "But beware, truth is easy, sacrifice is not." As they walked up the crystal stairs, Jace glanced at Sarika. "You were a real warrior back then, huh?" She smiled sadly. "Not yet, but I'm becoming one again." The next room was small, quiet. A simple table stood in the center. On it, 2 cups, one glowing, one dark. A message above read, "Only one must drink. One will grow stronger. One will suffer. Choose." Jace frowned. "This is a test?" Sarika looked at him. "Yes. It wants to know what we're willing to give up for each other." She reached for the dark cup without hesitation. But Jace grabbed her wrist. "No. You're the queen. The people need you. I'll drink it." They stared at each other, and together, they lifted both cups. The room flashed, but instead of pain, they felt warmth. A voice whispered, "You chose not to sacrifice each other. You chose to share the cost. The throne remembers." Sarika turned to Jace. "I couldn't have done this alone." Jace smiled. "Good thing I showed up with food, huh?" She laughed softly. But their peace didn't last long. Tarn's voice echoed from the communicator. "Enemies breaking through, you must return to the surface. Now." Sarika grabbed her staff and her voice turned hard again. "Trial or not, this queen will fight." And beside her, the boy the Empire had mocked, clenched his fists and whispered, "Let them come." Blood dripped onto white crystal. Tarn fell to one knee, gasping. His side was burned, hit by a laser blast. He had sealed 3 gates behind him, slowed the hunter guards with traps, and still crawled his way back to warn the queen. Now, lying under a broken pillar, he lifted his trembling arm, activated his communicator, and whispered just 2 words. "It's Koresh." Above the ruined tunnels, Sarika froze. The name hit her like a punch in the chest. General Koresh. He was once her most loyal protector, until he turned traitor and helped crown the false emperor. Jace saw her expression darken. "You know him?" he asked. "He was the first to kneel before me, and the first to stab me in the back. They rushed through hidden paths, helping Tarn up from the rubble." His breath was shaky. "I bought you time," he muttered. "But they'll follow. Koresh leads them now, and he's brought the Shadow Blades." Jace didn't know who or what the Shadow Blades were, but Tarn's fear said enough. Sarika gritted her teeth. "We move fast. We take the old lift shaft straight to the upper ruins. We make our stand there." But as they ran, a soft humming noise began to follow them. Jace glanced behind. Glowing drones, small, fast and deadly, swarmed into the tunnels. They reached the ruins of an old temple, once a place of royal worship, Now it stood broken, overgrown with alien moss, moonlight cutting through shattered glass. Tarn collapsed behind a fallen statue. Jace helped him sit. "You've done enough," Jace said quietly. Tarn smiled. "No, I haven't done this." He handed Jace a round device. "A memory key," Tarn said. "It holds everything. Evidence of the betrayal, records of the Queen's exile, her bloodline, everything. It will make the people believe again." Jace stared at it. "Why me?" "Because she trusts you. And because I won't survive tonight." Sarika stood behind them. Her eyes, once soft, were now steel. "No one dies tonight," she said. "Not if I can help it." But then, footsteps, slow, heavy, sharp. Koresh entered through the broken arch. His armor was black with red lights across the chest. His eyes glowed with rage and pride. He looked at Sarika. Still alive. Still hiding behind children. Then he turned to Jace. "You're the rat who gave her food. How noble. How useless." Jace stepped forward. "Say that again when you're not hiding behind armor." Koresh laughed. "You've got a mouth. You'll scream well when I'm done with you." Sarika raised her hand. "No, Koresh. You'll fall before you hear him scream." She struck the ground with her staff. A golden wave burst out, shaking the temple ruins. The shadow blades were thrown back. Koresh staggered but stayed standing. "Impressive," he said. "But I remember training you. I know your limits." Sarika narrowed her eyes. "You trained the princess, but you never knew the queen." The fight began, lightning and fire, blade and shield. Echoes of power crashed through the ruins. Jace dragged Tarn behind cover. Then he looked down at the memory key. Suddenly, a choice hit him. Help Sarika fight, or run to the nearest tower and broadcast the memory key to the galaxy. He made his choice. He ran. Koresh didn't notice Jace leave. He focused only on Sarika, his rage burning. "You abandoned your people," he shouted, swinging his plasma blade. "You left them." Sarika blocked his strike, sparks flying. "I never left. I survived. Their blades locked. And now," she said, eyes glowing, "I return." In the tower above, Jace reached the ancient console. Dust covered the controls. He slammed the memory key into the slot. It flickered, then lit up. Across the city, screens activated. In homes, streets, spaceports, everywhere, the same message appeared. "This is Sarika Velthra, true queen, betrayed, alive." Images followed, of her past, her exile, and proof of Koresh's betrayal. The people watched. The nobles froze, the guards hesitated, and the rebellion woke. Back at the temple, Koresh stepped back, shaken. He heard the message echo across his own communicator. His troops stared at him, some with fear, some with doubt. Sarika saw the shift. "It's over," she said. Koresh roared and rushed her. But Tarn, with his last breath, tackled him. Both men fell. Only one got up. Sarika looked down at Tarn's still body. Then she turned to Jace, who had returned to her side. "You did it," she said softly. Jace looked at her. "No, we did it." The Emperor's wineglass shattered before it hit the floor. A silent servant stood frozen beside him, eyes wide, at the sight on the Imperial holoscreen. Queen Sarika, alive, speaking in her royal voice wrapped in golden light, beside a human boy holding the symbol of truth. The Emperor's voice came out low and shaking. How did that filth survive?" No one answered, because across the Empire, thousands were already answering something else. Long live the Queen. Back in the ruined temple, the dust had barely settled. Tarn was dead. His blood soaked the altar stone, but his sacrifice wasn't in vain. All over Varrock 9, the people were rising, some in shock, some in hope, and some in fury. Alien news channels showed the people gathering, pointing at the sky, chanting her name. Ships lit up with her sigil, one that had been banned for generations, and in the center of it all was a human boy with a glowing mark on his wrist standing beside her. Jace had never felt so small, or so dangerous. "Jace," Sarika said gently, "you understand what happens now, don't you?" He looked around at the destruction, then down at Tarn's still body. He nodded. The Empire won't let you live, and now they won't let me live either. Sarika placed her hand over his. No. Now they can't afford to ignore you. In the rebel district, a wave of unrest began to rise. Street leaders played the broadcast on loop. Underground groups activated long-hidden weapons. And from the slave quarters to the noble courts, something shifted. Not fear, not chaos. Hope. A girl in the slums whispered to her brother, "The Queen's alive." And she walks beside a human. Inside a hidden rebel base, Sarika met with old allies. They were older, tired, but their eyes burned with belief. The people are waking, one said. They just need one final spark. Sarika nodded and looked at Jace. Then we give them one. 2 nights later, everything was set. A gathering was called in the oldest square of the city, a place where royals once spoke to their people. For years it had been filled with silence and surveillance. Now it was filled with thousands. Holograms showed Sarika standing on the high platform, her staff glowing beside her. Jace stood beside her, chest tight, hands shaking. "You sure I should be up here?" he whispered. Sarika smiled. "You gave a starving beggar food, and you gave a dying rebellion a voice. That makes you more royal than half my bloodline." She stepped forward. "I was once your queen. Then I was betrayed, hunted, forgotten. I begged in your streets, and only one boy stopped. Not because he knew who I was, but because he cared." She looked to Jace. This human, this outsider, did what no soldier, no noble, no general ever did. He showed honor in a broken world. The crowd was silent. Then a voice called out, "We believe." "You," another shouted. "Down with the traitors!" Jace looked around as the crowd lit up with voices, fists raised, symbols of the old kingdom waved high. It was happening. Then a scream rang out. From the rooftop, a sniper aimed at Sarika. Jace moved, without thinking. He dove in front of her as the shot fired. The blast hit him in the shoulder. He fell hard, pain exploding through his arm. Chaos broke loose. Guards rushed the stage. The crowd screamed. Rebels fought back. Sarika dropped beside him, hands glowing with golden light. "No," she whispered. "Not you." He smiled weakly. "Worth it." She pressed her hands over his wound. Her power flowed into him, faster, brighter than before. The mark on his wrist lit the sky. Something ancient awoke. A blast of energy spread from the platform like a shockwave, knocking back guards, freezing machines, lighting every screen in the city with one word: return. It was the throne's command. The Empire had lost control, and now the Queen and her human protector were rising. High above the burning city of Varrock 9, the Imperial Palace stood like a wounded beast. Black towers cracked, lights flickering, defense turrets frozen by the Queen's awakening energy. Inside, the false emperor paced like a caged animal, watching the rebellion rise across every screen. He smashed a monitor showing Sarika's face. The human boy stood beside her, still alive after the sniper's shot. "Why won't he die?" the emperor roared. A trembling advisor whispered, "Because," the throne marked him, my lord. "The people say he is now part of the prophecy." The emperor's face twisted in disbelief, then rage. "Prepare my guard. I'll kill them both myself." Jace woke in a bed of golden light. His shoulder, where the sniper's blast had hit, was healed. But he felt different, not stronger, not weaker. Connected. He looked around. The chamber was quiet but warm. Ancient. Symbols floated in the air like soft fireflies. This wasn't a hospital. This was the throne nexus, the soul of the old empire buried beneath the city. Sarika stood nearby, her eyes full of light, her hands glowing. "You should be dead," she whispered. "Yeah." Jace smiled weakly. "I get that a lot." Sarika knelt beside him. "The throne accepted you, not as a servant, but as a guardian. Do you understand what that means? Jace sat up slowly. I'm your royal bodyguard? You are more than that now, she said. You are my shield, my proof, my balance. She stood and turned to face a giant circular door glowing with blue runes. The Emperor will come. This place has been hidden for 2 centuries, but the signal awakened everything. The final battle is here. Jace stood, his hand instinctively reaching toward his glowing wrist. Then let's finish what we started. Above ground, the entire city had changed. Crowds filled the streets not with chaos but with purpose. Nobles tore down banners of the false empire. Slaves walked free. Machines once locked to the Emperor's control now responded to the old codes, Sarika's codes. Children painted her sigil on the walls. A teenage alien girl watching the broadcasts turned to her mother and whispered, "Mom, the Queen is real." Her mother nodded, tears in her eyes. Because a human reminded us how to believe again. At the heart of the ancient palace, Sarika and Jace stood in front of the Star Throne, a floating seat of light and memory, built from crystal and time. Guards, loyal to the Emperor, stormed the gates. Sarika raised her staff. Jace stood beside her, a sword of glowing alloy in his hand, gifted by the Nexus itself. The Emperor entered, wrapped in obsidian armor, hate burning in his eyes. You were weak, he growled at Sarika. You begged in the streets, you kissed dirt, you let a human touch royalty. Sarika stepped forward, eyes unshaken. And you feared what I became. Because I learned what true strength means. She raised her staff. Not in blood, not in crowns, but in kindness. The Emperor laughed bitterly and charged. The throne room became a storm of energy. Sarika clashed with the Emperor, her staff crackling with light. Jace defended her flank, blade slicing through the Emperor's elite guards. The bond between them glowed, his wrist and her staff pulsing in sync. Every time Sarika stumbled, Jace was there. Every time Jace faltered, Sarika covered him. But the Emperor was powerful, augmented by years of forbidden tech. He knocked Sarika to the ground. You never deserved this throne. He roared. Jace screamed and tackled him, his blade piercing the Emperor's armor. But the Emperor grabbed Jace's throat. Sarika rose, her body glowing, her voice shaking the chamber. You hurt my people. You destroyed our name. And now you tried to kill the only person who ever showed me mercy. She threw her staff like a spear. It struck the Emperor's chest. The light exploded. The Emperor's body lay still. His armor cracked. Smoke rising. Silence. Then the throne pulsed. Its symbols floated above Sarika and Jace. One word lit the room. Balance. Jace looked at her exhausted. Is it over? Sarika nodded. For the Empire, yes. For us, a new beginning. Weeks later, the city was rebuilding. Sarika walked through the same street where she had once begged for food, now filled with music and flags. People bowed, but she told them to rise. Jace, now in royal armor, walked beside her, not as a servant, not as a symbol, but as a partner. At the royal balcony, she addressed the galaxy. I was mocked, forgotten, hunted, but a human child gave me a second chance, and through him I remembered who I was, who we all could be. She turned to Jace, and now as queen, I name him not only protector of the throne, but protector of all forgotten lives. Jace scratched the back of his head. Do I still get free food? The crowd laughed, and then they cheered. In a quiet corner of the palace, a golden statue was placed. It showed a boy offering bread to a cloaked woman. A plaque read, "The moment. Kindness began a revolution," and beneath it, "Never forget what one human act of kindness can change."